Well, you've made it to part 3 of this video series, and I'm so happy that we're getting ready to talk about the post-production. But before we do, I gotta remind you this video and this entire series has been brought to us by our sponsor, Pond 5, maybe the greatest library of stock footage and stock sound online. They're giving us funding and footage and everything we need to make this little series happen, and I'm so happy about that. I've actually used them for a long time, as you've probably heard before. Before they've even reached out to me, I'd been using them, so I was really excited when they reached out and we were able to create this video series together, and it's just been amazing. So let's go talk about some color grading and video editing and all kinds of post-processing amazingness. Meanwhile, click the link down in the description to this video and go download 15 free video clips from Pond 5 to use in your own projects. Absolutely free. Use them wherever and whenever you want. Let's get moving. This is part 3 of 3, and this is going to be all about the post-production. First, part 1 was the pre-production. Part 2, we talked about going out in the field and actually shooting our video. Now, part 3, of course, we're going to talk about video editing. I'm going to talk about sound effects. We're going to talk about the soundtrack for the video. We're going to talk about creating our own sound effects to a certain extent. And, of course, we're going to talk about color grading. Now, we're going to use DaVinci Resolve Light, and we're going to color grade from Premiere Pro. And we're going to round trip it from Premiere Pro to DaVinci back to Premiere. I'm going to show you how I do that. And it is also worth noting that I am using Premiere Pro, but you can really perform these techniques and think about this little short film the way that I'm going to be editing in any video editing software. It can be Final Cut Pro, it could be iMovie, it could theoretically be Windows Movie Maker, or even something like Photoshop. Now, some of the things obviously would be limited. Premiere Pro is my choice. Final Cut Pro is also amazing if you have access to either of those applications, but you can really follow along with anything and try to take away some of the concepts and how we do some of this stuff in this tutorial. The first step is going to be file organization. Because of the nature of video editing, you really want to make sure you have your files organized. I've created a folder right here on my desktop, and by the way, if you can work from a fast either local hard drive, something like an SSD drive, or just a really good external hard drive, that also helps a little bit with video editing. Here I'm just working on my internal hard drive here on this Mac, and I've created a folder on the desktop called Short Film. Now within Short Film, I've created an audio folder. This is where like soundtracks we've downloaded from Pond 5 are going to go, and sound effects that we create, also any kind of like music, that would go there. Graded assets, this is for later on when we do all of our color grading. That stuff's going to go into that folder. Graphics, this is, I just have a couple graphics here. Well, I've got the storyboard that I brought over. That's just for my own visual reference if I want to pull it up at any point and see what I'm putting together. And I also have 2 sort of outro slides that I'm kind of playing around with, and we'll see if we use either one of them. That's good. I also have my footage. So this is all of the footage that we shot back in part 2. So I've just have, you can see it's what, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, something like that clips. A couple pieces of B-roll, which we're probably not going to end up using, but they're there anyway. And I also have video. So this is stock video downloaded from pond5.com. And in fact, over on Pond 5, I should let you know that I have a curated collection. Now this stuff is not available for free. This is just the stuff that I've used here, or the stuff that I've downloaded just for this project. So I have these 8 clips here, and I also have some music and also some sound effects. Maybe I'll include the link to this little public collection short intro project in the YouTube video description as well. But beware, these clips are not free. They're not the ones that are included with this tutorial. They're just ones that I'm probably going to be using, or at least I'll be using a few of them. So just keep that in mind. So that's what the video folder is. So I'm working here. So we're going to actually create a new Premiere project file and place it in this short film folder. Now it is worth mentioning that before we go ahead and create this Premiere project, and by the way, I've just, you can see, cleared out Premiere behind things here, I like to go through and do what I call sourcing all of my footage, and that's just where I kind of check it out, I watch it, and I name it all. You can see here with my audio files, Ambient City Street 01, Ambient City Street 02, Footsteps, Boots in Dirt, Footsteps 01, Metal Door Smash Open, and so on and so forth. I did that with there. I also did this with my footage, right, walking along the pavement, running by, and so on and so forth, so I know what's what. I haven't done it here with this video, so what I would do is just bring it up, and I can just hit the space bar and check it out. Okay, well, there's police cars racing by, so I can say, police. All right, great. So once all of that stuff is named, I have a better idea of what I have here in my stock video folder. But also, more importantly, everything is named. So later on down the road, actually, I'm going to add a little little hyphen there so everything looks the same. More importantly, most importantly, down the road, I know exactly what I'm looking at when I'm working on this project. If I'm working on it for several days, weeks, months, or so on and so forth. All right, so let's talk about creating our project in Premiere and how I go about doing that. So I'm going to pop over to Adobe Premiere, and you can see nothing's open. So we're going to go File, New, and create a new project. And the first thing we'll do is name the project Short Film, right? Because we all know what we're working on. I'm going to go Browse for Location. I'm going to choose my desktop. I'm going to choose Short Film, and I'm just going to save it right here in this Short Film folder. Go ahead and hit Choose. Great. Everything else, I'm probably just going to leave the way it is and hit OK. And you'll see what happens. Boom, up pops a blank Premiere Pro file. Now within this file, probably the first thing I'm going to do is over here in my project folder, I will go ahead and hit the New button, and from New Item, I will choose New Sequence. And this sequence, we'll call this Primary Ungraded because our footage is ungraded at this point, so we'll go Primary Ungraded. And we are going to go ahead and choose Digital SLR 1080p. And 1080p, I believe we shot all this at 30 frames per second, so I'm going to go with 30 frames per second, hit OK. I should remember that. That's a pretty important little fact. I'm going to switch this over to Icon View by hitting the little Icon View button. And at this point, again, just in the vein of file organization, I usually like to create some folders, so I'll go like Audio, we'll say Stock Video, I'll go with My Footage again. We've done that before, right? And I'll also choose Graphics for graphics. All right, so now that we have our sequence, you can see it opens up over here. We've got our timelines. We've got a few different visual and sound tracks. And it's time to go ahead and start actually doing the video editing and cutting this thing up on the timeline. So let's talk about that. Now, in order to begin editing video, we obviously need to have our video in Premiere. So let's navigate back to our Finder, and we'll begin, I guess since audio is our first folder, let's drag in all of our audio here. Select the top one, hold down my Shift key, select the bottom one, and drag it, and I'm going to drop it on the audio folder. You'll see it's going to change from 0 items to 16 items. Great. Let's go to the video folder here. We got all of our stock video. Let's grab all this, drag it, and drop it into stock video. Cool. Give it a second. Give it a second. Eight items. Great. Let's go to graphics. I'm just going to grab my top secret PS image JPEG, and I'm going to drag that into the graphics folder. And what do we have? Oh, my footage, of course. Let's grab all of this. I'll grab even the B-roll. Why not? I'll drag it in and drop it into the my footage folder. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to jump back to my storyboard once it drags all the footage in. Give it a second. Give it a second. There we go, 15 items. I'm going to go back to the graphics folder here, and I'm going to check out the storyboard. And just as a quick refresher on the storyboard, we knew that when we began the film, we wanted to sort of have this guy walking across the screen, and then like some kind of establishing shot. That's probably what we use the drone shot over Philly. The lighting doesn't quite match up. We'll play around with that a little when it comes to color grading. It's not an ideal mesh as far as going one shot to the other. This would have been an amazing example of when it would have been great to have a drone in addition to the other equipment we brought out on location. But again, we're bootstrapping this thing. We're doing it as inexpensively as we can. So we didn't bring a drone out. We didn't have access to a drone for this shoot. But if you can have your own drone, you can shoot, the actual location that you're in the day that you're doing all the rest of the filming. Your light is going to be spot on. So that would have been great. But we're gonna work with the great footage from Pond 5. So we're gonna use a drone shot that they have over Philly. And then the idea is he's going to sort of hear a car come up behind him, door slam shut, you got all the ambient traffic city noise going on, and then he'll sort of turn around and then take off running. Now, we didn't actually watch through all of the footage together, but you'll sort of see the footage that I'm using as I'm cutting it together, and I'll show you the bits and pieces I want to use. As I was looking at this and considering the stock footage, you're going to see we're going to make a couple little changes to the storyboard here, but I think it'll still be interesting. And then he'll take off running away, and things will pick up, and music will start, and everything like that. So that's great. Now that we know that, I am going to just minimize my graphics there. Let's begin just kind of throwing some stuff into place. So I know I've got my footage here. We've got a couple different clips of him sort of walking by. I can drag through and quickly preview. Actually, I'll kill my audio for a second just so we're not being distracted by that. But we can see there's a few shots of him just walking by. I don't know that I like that shot. It's a little bit of a diagonal here. If I drag it out onto the timeline, you can see here. Drag the playhead. we can see he's just kind of walking back and forth. The plus minus keys, by the way, they allow you to zoom in or out of your timeline, so that's cool. And you can see he's just kind of like walking back and forth by the camera. The camera was on a little slider. I don't really like how, you can see the yellow line in the road. It was just a diagonal shot. I don't know that I like that shot. And I also can tell that this shot is very similar. So let's begin with this shot right here. This one, far less distracting, things in the background. I know there's some garbage and things like that, but it kind of works with what we're about to do. And you can see here, you just have him walking by and going back and walking by and going back, and all of the audio is, a little bit of him, but a lot of just on-camera noise and me kind of saying, hey, go back, walk, let's do another take of that. Let's do another take. Let's do another take. So let's begin here. Let's get just a shot of him walking across the camera. So he enters the frame right there. So what I'll probably do is zoom in just a little bit here. He enters the frame right here. I probably, when I kick to this, I want his foot almost coming down, so I might kick with just his toe sticking into the frame. What I'll do is use the hotkey, the letter C. It's going to grab your slice tool, your cut tool, your razor tool. There you go. The hotkey is the letter C, and I'm going to snip both the audio and visual track, and then I'm going to hit the hotkey for the letter V, which is going to be my selection tool. We're going to be flipping very quickly between these, V and C, two very useful tools when you're just cutting something together, rough cutting it. And I'm just going to select both those tracks, hit the delete key, get rid of it. All right. So what we can do now is just select here. We can right click, choose ripple delete. It's going to move our entire clip back to the beginning, and we can just hit the space bar and check it out. Dink, dink, dink. He walks across. It kind of actually looked like a sloppy step there, right? A little sloppy. Let's see what this last walk across is. I think that one might be the best one. So here we go. We'll do this again. There's his toe sticking in. You can use your arrow keys to navigate, one frame at a time. All right, there we go at the toe sticking in. Make the clip. Great. Grab the selection tool, just like that. And in this case, I'm just going to drag it back. I just wanted to show you that ripple delete thing because that'll be useful later on. All right, so we can see clip, 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 boom, and he walks right across. The camera's a little bouncy, but I actually kind of like that. All right, now we have snapping turned on. That's this little magnet here. The hotkey is the letter S. It can be useful to turn that on or off depending on what you're doing. We can grab the end of the clip here and just smush it right back. Now, one of the things that I'm thinking about here for this is instead of just opening with him walking, I think maybe we should open with like the police racing to where he is. Remember, the whole premise of this sort of short film is going to be he's got this secret version of Photoshop. This is the intro for some, top secret Photoshop features or something, tutorial series, and he in his briefcase has the secret of all secrets, and it's something that everyone's after or something. We're trying to make it, it's ridiculous, I understand. But that's kind of the point here. So let's just close this little bin here. I want to open up the stock video bin. And I want to begin with this police cars and SWAT team driving. And let's just see here. So when we play, we've got one police car, two police car, but then thirdly, we have this SWAT bread truck. This is, this large van, and that's what I want to capture. I want to capture him just starting to come into the frame, maybe with his headlight there. So we'll grab the razor tool, clip it right there, grab the selection tool, get rid of that, drag this back, and now that we have this dragged back, we can play it just to about right there. Great, you can tell that it's a fairly policey style car. There's some sirens, there's some lights going on there. All right, let's clip that video clip. I'm going to select the remainder of it and just delete it. So now I'm going to grab this video clip and I'm just going to drag it down right onto video track 1. And I can select between these two clips, right click and choose ripple delete and just pinch them together. So already our film is going to open with this police truck riding by and then a guy kind of calmly walking down the road. And by the way, looking at this clip, if it's not quite straight, you can always edit it a little bit. I don't think I'm going to here, but if we were being picky, you could take the rotation and just tilt it a little bit. Now, you know what, I actually think at 0, it's close enough to being flat that it's not really going to be noticeable. Now, one of the things we're not going to need the audio from this track at all. So I can go ahead and delete that and just to keep our video editing timeline kind of clean here. All right, great. So we've got the police truck entering the scene. We've got him walking across the way here. Now what we want to do is we want to switch camera angles. So let's go back to my footage. And I know that I have a couple shots of him walking along, and you can see here, walking, stop, run away. That's what that says. Let's go with the second one here, because the second one, maybe I got a better shot, and that's why I stopped shooting. So he walks. You can see he's messing up a little bit here. He walks. Let's get him back to where he was. He walks. You can see he turns to see a car and then takes off running. And you can see right at the end of that, part of the reason that I reshot this was right here at the end of it, he almost gives up running before he's even completely out of frame. So I had to just instruct him. I said, look, you got to, when you take off running, keep running way out of frame. Just, run 10 steps past the camera or something like that. And remember, it doesn't matter if I'm talking when I'm shooting the footage, because I know I'm replacing all this audio. We're going to build an entire audio track behind this with, ambient city sound, police and sirens and trucks and, all kinds of stuff like that. So I'm just giving him lots of instruction here. And I think this will probably be the one that we keep here. Step, 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 turn, turn, turn. And then he takes off running. All right, that's great. So what we'll do is we'll grab our clip right there. We're looking for the movement in the back foot. If we start too early, you're going to tell that he started from a stop. So we're looking for movement in the back foot, right? Just like there on his toe. That's probably great. So we can just clip that. We're going to delete the entire front part of this clip. We're going to drag this guy back a little bit. And here's where things are going to get a little interesting as well, because we're going to sort of quick cut between this. We're not going to do any multicam stuff here in Premiere Pro. If you're relatively new to video editing, that means nothing to you, and don't worry about it for this, for the purposes of this tutorial. But if you do a lot of interviews and stuff, definitely look into multicam. It's a super powerful little feature of most video editors, and Premiere Pro and Final Cut Pro both have it. All right, so we've got our clip here. Great. Once again, I can delete the soundtrack. Just select and hit the delete key. All right, so what I want to do is I want to get him taking maybe 1-2 steps. 1, 2, just as he starts to turn. I'll probably stop it there and I'll snip this. And the next bit of footage I'm going to bring in, I'm going to go back to stock video. Remember, we had our SWAT van driving by. Well, I have this other shot of a drone shot. Another piece of stock footage, which is a drone shot over the top of a SWAT van, and as it gets to the back doors, the doors burst open and out come the special forces, the SWAT team. So I'll probably start this clip somewhere right around here where you can see the word SWAT, and if you know what that is, you know what's about to happen here. I don't want to start at the very beginning, number one, because it starts at a complete dead stop. So at the very least, I would clip it to the point where it's a continual movement. So I would at least clip it to here. But I think for my taste, I'm going to start it like right there, or maybe if I was feeling a little J.J. Abrams, I would start it right there to get a little bit of lens flare action. But the problem with this is, and I'll show you here, if we're keeping with right when he turns to run, we really need to see our SWAT team burst out much sooner so we can cut back to him beginning to run away. Like as soon as he sees the SWAT coming around the sides of this truck, presumably he would take off running, because I mean, hey, if you knew that these guys were after you, why wouldn't you take off running? So let's cut back to right about here, and we're going to make a split right in our video there. And what we're going to do is we're going to select this first piece of footage, right click, and choose speed/duration. And I'm going to increase the speed of the first part of this clip maybe 225%. So you can see it's going to cut it down to being 1 second and 2 frames long. Hit OK. You can see we're in a much faster piece of footage. You can select right here, right click, choose ripple delete, pulls the footage right back together. So what we've done here is the initial part of this clip is going to happen very fast. The sweep over the truck to the back doors, and then it'll slow down for when they burst open. Great. It looks very weird because we don't have any sound, but don't worry, we're going to add sound later on. All right, so we're going to go here. Boom, these guys burst out. Cool. We'll probably stop this right around here. So I'll pull this back to right about there. And at this point, we're going to cut back to the shot of him. Now, what I want to do is I want to move him out just a little bit. Now, remember, in our last shot of him, he just sort of starts to move, but we can sort of fake it as if he's turning to look to see what's happening, and then he sees and he takes off running. You see that? So he sort of is walking down the street. Whoa, what's that noise? What's that noise? Maybe a little bit quick for my liking, but then he sees the SWAT team pouring out and he takes off running. Cool. So what we'll do is right about there, just as his foot leaves the frame, we'll go ahead and snip that video clip there, and we'll get rid of that. Now, looking at this clip, we realize we've got our opening shot, him walking by, and then it goes right to the SWAT team bursting out and chasing him. What I'm realizing is that we did not put our establishing shot of Philly in here. So it's actually pretty easy to do. We know that we're going to need to drop it between him walking and him continuing to walk. So let's go ahead and drag the drone shot of Philly in. Well, I'm going to drag it in anyway. And I want to, I think, get or pick up the drone shot when it's a little bit closer to downtown, a little bit closer to the Comcast building here. And this drone shot is actually actually a few months old at least, because they're building a second skyscraper right here, and the core of the building has not even begun to rise yet in this drone shot. But hey, we're going to ignore that for the time being. We're having too much fun. I'm going to go ahead and just cut this video clip. I'm going to select the beginning part of it here and just delete that. I know we're not going to, we're not showing off the entire town here, so we only need a second or two of this video clip. I'm also looking here, and the video is a little large. It's bigger than our 1080p, so we'll select the video clip, right? You click on the video clip and look to the Effect Controls panel, and there is a scaling option. So we'll just scale this down and scale it back up a little bit. Maybe it's just got to be scaled to about 50%, right? So we can actually just click on that and go 50%. Boom. All right, yep, sure enough, 50% is perfect. And there we go. We have our drone shot. Maybe I'll pick it up right about there. Just drag this in. It's going to lock right to where my playhead is. Great. So we have our drone shot. I don't know quite where it's going to end, but it's going to end when it feels right to end. So the drone shot is going to drop right in between these guys. All right, so I'm going to grab all 4 of these clips, drag this guy right over, grab the drone shot, drop it in. All right, let's watch it. All right, so then we see, all right, dun, 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 over Philadelphia, and then we'll probably cut it. I don't know, actually. Maybe that's about right. Whoa, hold on. Do I see him slowing down at the end of that? No, it looks about right. Okay, so he walks by, and then it cuts to Philly. I got to cut off just a little bit of the end, right about there, of him walking by. It just doesn't look right. Right click, ripple delete, great. Got that merged together. Voila, it cuts right into the drone shot of Philly. That's good. All right, we're going to drag this, and it's going to just snap right back to the edge of our drone clip. Goes to him. You can see, boom, outbursts the SWAT team. Goes back to him running. And then I think what I want to do after he's running is continue the SWAT team pouring out of the vehicle. So I'm going to pull this clip. Whoop, make sure that I'm not selecting the lower clip. We just want to select the upper clip here. I want to drag this out, something like that. So what we can do here is just cut it right here and maybe cut it also right about there. Delete this part in the middle. Right, and we'll see what will happen is, boom, he sees that, he takes off running, and we see the rest of the SWAT team pouring out. I'm actually going to back this up a little bit because I want to see a few of the SWAT guys at least. There we go. So they finish jumping out. Boom, boom, boom. Cool. And that looks pretty good. So we'll probably stop it right there as he hits the ground. We can cut that SWAT clip. There we go. And delete that. The next part of the video is going to be, we need to sort of have him running by us. So I'm going to go back to my footage here, and I can see I've got one shot of him running by. I'm going to drag that in and see what that looks like. Let's just quickly breeze through this. You can hear sound. I'll kill the sound again. You can hear sound. I can also see the part of the backside of the skyline up there, which I kind of like, but I also kind of don't like it because, like I mentioned earlier, the drone shot of Philly, the lighting doesn't quite match up, and it's just the exposure of the camera on the ground was much greater than that of the drone, so everything looks very bright and washed out. I'm not necessarily digging that, so if I use this clip, I'll probably wait until I'm kind of in here. I don't even mind that it's a little out of focus. Let's just see, so I could pick it up like right about here. You know what, let me just delete the soundtrack first and foremost. And so let's delete, or let's just clip it there. Just hit the letter C, grab the razor tool. So we would pick up him running by kind of right about there. If we even use this clip, I'm just looking here. What else do we have in this clip? Is there anything else? Do we get another shot of him running by? Oh, there we go. We're back in focus. Yeah, you know, let's use this one here. So he's running by. We can pick him up in full step right there, running right by. Boom. Cool, just like that. We can cut it off right there. This is going to be like kind of some quick hitter shots here. So these shots are going to be kind of fast moving. All right, let's just right click here and just choose good old ripple delete. I'm going to drag this down to my other track though. All right, let's just see here. So it goes to that, and then he takes off running. Maybe let's speed him up a little bit. Right click, speed duration. Now you want to be careful. We don't want to make it look fake, but maybe we'll take this to like 110% on the speed scale here. Just going to give him a little extra pep in his step. There we go, cool. So he just comes running by the camera just like that. Now let's grab, just looking at this here, maybe I'll cut it right about there. So I'll just back it up to right about there. Again, we're trying to keep the whole intro to around 30 seconds or so, and we're already out to, well, you can see here on our playhead, we're out to 14 seconds exact right where we are. So we want to just keep that in mind as we're kind of putting stuff together. Let's look for another kind of him running by. Dun, 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 dun. Where is it? Is it in here? Let's look here. I'm just looking at these clips now. There he is running and putting the laptop on the ground, or on the on the thing for us. We don't want that one. He's running by there. Nope, not there. I know we already have this one out here. Oh, okay, it's on the end of this clip. Let's drag this clip back out. I'm just looking here. I'm going to delete the soundtrack again. I want to go all the way to the end of this clip. You can see here at the end of the clip, he takes off kind of running out of this train tunnel. It's not really a train tunnel. The railroad tracks are up above, but it almost will continue our blurry looking footage, but change the camera angle quite dramatically. So I'm just going to grab this little running bit and affix it to the end of our other running bit. Let's see how that kind of meshes together. All right, so the SWAT pours out, he comes running, and he takes off running. All right, maybe I should really begin this right about here, where he's kind of running by and the camera's just catching up to him. Let's try that, see what that looks like. All right, so he takes off running by the camera, and the camera picks him up on there. Maybe I should pull this out just a little bit. I'm just trying to mesh it or match the two clips up just a little bit. So he's kind of running out of frame, looking really blurry here. And just as he runs out of frame, he's going to come kind of back into frame. You'll see here. So he runs out, and you can see, boom, he just kicks back into frame as he takes off running. So I'll probably stop this right about there. All right, let's just cut that. All right, we're up to what, 15 seconds, 22 frames. All right, that looks good. And I think what I want to try next, I'm going to close this little bin. Let's go back to our stock video. I had that shot of the SWAT team kind of running through the smoke, this here. And what I can do, again, get rid of the soundtrack. We don't need that. Although I should point out there are some interesting sounds on this soundtrack here. I'll let you listen to it a little bit. There's a lot of like heavy boots on concrete floor. And I don't know that we have a great soundtrack that would match that, so I'm just keeping that in mind. Later on, I might want to scalp this soundtrack and use it either for just ambient noise of like the SWAT team chasing him, or maybe influence a little bit as the guys are getting off the truck for this clip right here. So we're just going to keep that in mind. I'm going to delete it because I don't need it for right here, right now. But what we do need to do is make this clip a bit larger. So of course, is it going to cut the quality of the clip? Yes. I'm justifying it because it is just a video intro, and it's just for a very quick cutscene, and we're probably also going to mix it with like some police lights. I'll show you what I mean here. First and foremost, let's scale this up. So here we select the clip, we look to the effect controls area, and I'm going to scale it up to like 250%. That actually is almost perfect. Yeah, because 240 is too small, 250. We're going to roll with 250. So 250%, and we have our SWAT team come pouring through. So I'll start this clip probably right here, where you can just start making out these guys who are... We're going to come running through here as though they're chasing after him. And then we can probably cut it. I don't know. Probably doesn't even need to go for that long. Just a few seconds, something like that. We'll cut it right about there. Great. And I think to add a little bit of interest to this, let's just try it and see if this works. I'm going to open up stock video again. I'm going to go with these police lights. I'm going to drop them on top of my SWAT team. I'm going to use my razor tool, cut it right at the end. And by the way, when you have snapping turned on, it will automatically cut right there. So both clips, they're going to match up perfectly. See that? Just like literally frame to frame, they match right up. So that's a great little thing to have. I'm going to move this bin down here. I'm going to select my police lights video track, or not even the video track, that piece of video, but it's on a separate track above that SWAT team. And I'm going to set the blend mode to maybe like screen, right? And I'll also reduce the opacity down to maybe about 65%. So here, if we play this, you can see that it's just almost giving us this effect of, you know, obviously you see the police lights, so you know some stuff is going down, but then you're also seeing these like shadowy figures that are coming running through the lights toward you a little bit. So it's kind of cool, kind of neat. What I want to make sure though is that it's just going to kind of still roll with the general flow and vibe and look of the video. For now, I'm going to leave it in, but you know, taking it out later on is a piece of cake if we need to do that. So let's go ahead and just save our project. Now, at this point, if we go back to our graphics folder and bring up the storyboard again, we're transitioning a little bit. Like he was walking and then he starts running away. We didn't really find a great stock shot of Philly. Instead, we're kind of complementing with this whole SWAT idea where he has a full SWAT team chasing him rather than maybe just an individual in a car. So things have changed a little bit from the initial concept, but I kind of dig it. So he's running, and so we're going to fill in a little bit more of this running. We need him to be running to a point where he's going to throw this briefcase onto an object on the street that's at or around chest, waist level, something like that. So let's go ahead and build this little running bit. I'll show you here how we're going to do this. So once again, we'll close the stock photo bin. We're going to go back to my footage. And what I'm looking for is we're going to, let's go with this clip first. Once more, I'm just going to delete the soundtrack. Let's move out over here. What I'm looking for is, yeah, I'm looking for him to kind of start running, and we're going to mesh this together with a couple different camera angles. We're going to set this up. All right, that's just the first take. I want to see one where he starts a little bit further into the intersection there. Yeah, there we go. So you can see he's really starting way back in the intersection. All right, so let's pick it up right about there as he's making that step. All right, so we're going to cut our footage. We're going to get rid of that first bit. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. I'm going to drag this clip way over here. Actually, I'm going to drag it down onto this, this track. I'm going to zoom back in just using my plus key. All right, so we go from the SWAT team chasing to now he's running on the street. Now at this point, what I can do is cut to a different angle. So what I'll do is I'll go to this angle of the camera here, and I'm going to find him running through. You can hear audio track distracting. Let's get rid of the audio track. He's going to come running through here. Now what I want to do is, I know he's already in full run. Remember back down here on this frame, he's already in full run. So he's just getting ready. You can see he's before that white line in the road. So I'm just keeping my eye on that, and I'm also looking, he's got his front, what would be his left leg touching the ground. So I'll probably try to find, can I find him before that line with his left leg? Okay. So right there, his left leg is touching the ground just before the line. So that's a good little moment. So I'm going to just pull my clip back to there. So I know that's pretty usable. Now let's see about making this work. So there's his, where is it? Okay, so his foot touches the line. That's his right foot coming down just before the line. And then, all right, so we might have to pick it up right as he steps over the line. Let's look here. Yeah, see, his foot is coming down right there where his foot comes down. It's almost the same exact spot where his foot comes down right there. See that front foot right there? That's great. So his front foot comes down, boom, and as it touches down, whoop, didn't mean to do that. Let's back this up. As it touches down, we're going to switch camera angles. And you can see this should look pretty clean. So he comes running out, boom, front foot touches down. You can see this was shot in 2 different takes because we only had one camera out there on location, but it kind of looks like it works together. Maybe, in fact, I'll shorten this just a little bit, pull that out to there. And because we know that right here we have a perfect transition, I'm going to select both of these clips right there and just slide them back toward my SWAT team. And I think I still want to add maybe 1 or 2 more camera angles here. So we're going to have him run through. Maybe for the sake of time, we'll just do like 1 more camera angle. But you can see the camera swings completely around to the point where you can see him grabbing or unzipping the bag and grabbing the laptop. But what I think we'll do is right about here, he's running just by this column. Let's bring in a 3rd clip here. I should have, maybe in this clip, do I have him running up to, no, I don't have him running up to the, yeah, okay, what we can do is we can switch back to the original clip. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to cut. So there he is running around the column. We'll just remember that he's running around the column. I'm not going to delete the rest of that clip. I'm just going to get it out of the way. So here he is running around the column. Great. He's lifting up the bag. Let's just see what that looks like all together as one. So there he is running, switches cameras, and then it's back to the other camera. All right, so the other camera is just a little bit late. You see that? See how he's like right there? He's just getting ahead of the column, and then all of a sudden he's back behind the column again. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to end. All right, so this is where it's going to come in. So I'm going to make my cut there. I'm also going to cut back here at the end of that top clip and just delete that little piece of footage. Right-click, ripple, delete. And you'll see here, now he's in front of the pillar, right? He's just in front of this pillar in both of our clips. So let's just check that out all together. Boom, boom. And then he runs over, he throws the laptop down. Now, as he's unzipping, when he goes to reach into it, we can probably cut back to our other angle. We'll find where he's, let's undo that, Command or Control Z. Let's find where he's reaching in to pull the laptop out of the bag. I'm just going to hold down Command or Control. It would be Command because I'm on the Mac, and the Shift key and use my arrow keys and just nudge, 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 nudge. All right, so what we need to do is pull some of this clip back. All right, right about there where he's grabbing the laptop. That's where we want this clip to be. So you can see he reaches in to grab the laptop, grabs the laptop, pulls it out, and begins to open it. Cool. So we're just using these 2 different clips, and we're just cutting between them where things look like they work. We may look at it later and realize, oh, something needs to be changed a lot. We need to, readjust things that's off by a few frames. And if so, hey, it's really easy to come in and do that. So now as he begins to open this, I think we're going to try to cut back to the other frame. So I'm going to just probably try to well, let's see. There he is getting it open. He has the laptop on a diagonal. So if we cut here and go back to the other take, did he have the laptop on a diagonal as he was beginning to open it? No, he did not. All right, so what we need to do then is we need to have him just completely open the laptop and straighten it out. And as soon as he straightens it out, at this point, we can cut back to the other frame. See that? All right, and even there, we probably really need him to get his hands down in position, right? Because he has his hands, both of his hands down by the laptop, just like that. Cool. So that looks a little bit more natural. So boom, he pulls the laptop out. He's opening it up. Great. And there he is working on it. Now, we do have another shot in here where we're kind of sliding into the laptop as he opens it. We could integrate that, but for the sake of just saving some time, we're not going to do that here because we still have another shot we need to integrate. So let's delete that. Now we have our last slide into the screenshot. Again, I'm just going to delete the soundtrack. And what's going on here is we're just basically sliding over his shoulder, looking at the laptop and seeing this top secret Photoshop graphic in Photoshop on the screen. Now, it was actually there when we shot this little piece, so we're going to roll with it being there. And let's just take the clip here. So I'm going to start. He's kind of out of focus. Well, he's not kind of out of focus. He's quite out of focus. Let's slide back here. All right, let's look to see what this looks like. Now, we're above our 30 seconds, so I don't want it to be that long. All right, so we'll probably start this right about here. I don't mind if it goes just a mite over 30 seconds, but I don't want it to be too ridiculous. Whoa, okay, well, hold on. Let's finish trimming our clip. So here he is. He goes to, you know what, actually, I don't know that we really want to see the screen because you can see the screen is black here, and all of a sudden it has stuff here. So maybe what we need to do is have him take the laptop out. It's just all stream of consciousness, guys. We're just going through this. We'll have him take the laptop out, and as he begins to open it, or maybe we just can't really use that shot. When he goes to open the laptop, maybe we will. We're going to delete that shot. I'm going to go with what I think would be just the better shot and just go ahead and have him pulling the laptop out of the bag in this shot here. So let's just slide this back. He's opening up the bag. Oh, he already has the laptop out there. All right, let's bring some of this clip back. All right, so you can see here, basically what's happening is we're sliding into him, and he's okay, so right there he's got the bag open. Now where does that meet up with our other clip? All right, so right there he's got the bag open, and here in our sliding shot, he also has the bag open. All right, so boom, then he's pulling it out, and he's opening it up. And as soon as that happens, cut back to our other shot. Well, what we'll have to do is make the shot a little bit more like that. So we're just going to get rid of this little bit of footage here. Right click. I like to use ripple delete because it's going to pull the other clip back into place as well. So you can see here, he's opening it up, pulling the laptop out, opening it up, great, and then boom, he's set. And then what we need to do once he goes from being set, before he begins to move away from the laptop at all, it'll just be like a quick cut right to that shot behind him. So boom, he's looking, quick shot behind him, and then there we go as the camera fades in, or the camera rolls in over his shoulder a little bit. And right here around 30, maybe 31 seconds, let's make our cut. Great. Whoop. Wrong clip. We'll make the cut, and then we'll select the piece on the end and delete it. All right, let's save this. Now what we need to do is go ahead and just add our ending graphic. Now for the ending graphic, I'm going to do something a little maybe, well, no, you know, we're not going to do anything too strange. What we're going to do is we're just going to fade it, just do a straight crossfade right to this graphic. Might seem a little cheesy. I don't really like the crossfade all that much. I think it's kind of out, but let's just go ahead and throw a simple crossfade on it. Before we do anything, though, we need to scale this down. So let's just scale it down, maybe back up a little bit. There we go. Let's actually go like 47. Cool. And then let's pull back on the Y positioning until it's at about, what is that, let's just go like 420. Because why not? And you can see that's pretty nice. So just top secret Photoshop, boom, the P is just being clipped a little bit, that's fine. And it's just going to go right from the screen, and then it would fade very quickly and sharply to that. So we'll go Effects, we'll go Video Transitions, we'll go Dissolve, Cross Dissolve, drop a Cross Dissolve right on the meeting of those two clips, and I'm going to just pinch the Cross Dissolve in. I want it to be very short and fast. So just bam, Cross Dissolve, and that's actually still too long. So let's make it even faster. All right, let's try this. Boom, cross dissolve right to that. At which point, you would then, it would, jump into the actual tutorial. And this little, text graphic, that can last as long as you want it to last. 3 seconds, 5 seconds, a minute and a half, whatever you want. All right, let's save this. And next, let's talk about adding the sound effects and building our soundtrack. So here in Premiere, anything beneath these video tracks, all these lines, tracks down here, these are the audio tracks. So it's here that we're going to build out the sound effects. I'm going to make sure that my audio is turned on. I don't know how well my microphone is going to pick up these speakers because, well, let's just see how well it works. We're basically building an entire environment from scratch. So I'm going to go back to my project short film. I'm going to open up audio, and I want to begin by just laying down an ambience track, or an ambiance track, if you will. And we're going to do that with just Ambience City Street 01. I'm going to drag it in and place it on soundtrack 1. And we can hear, just listen. Right? It's just that general, just stuff going on in the background. It's almost going to be like the static, but a little bit more applicable than static. It's going to sort of help all of our any breaks in our sound, just make it sound like there's no silence at all. So that's great. Next up, we need to have some sort of truck sound of the police driving by. We need to have some sort of siren sound. All of that kind of needs to be going. We're going to need to add footstep sounds when his feet are meeting the ground and so on and so forth. Let's go ahead here and add... right here, police car pull up, siren on. Let's see what this sounds like. Yeah, see, I kind of like this because you can hear the police car approaching as he's walking, right? It's getting a little bit louder, and then all of a sudden, as the sound, actually it almost works perfectly, as the sound cuts out, you can see the truck has stopped. That's actually pretty good. All right, that's great. But I also have, where is it? Right here, car pull up, stop, shut off. Let's drop this in here. This track, I'm going to shut off the other siren real quick. I just hit the M, that just mutes that audio track. I'm going to go ahead and listen to this, and you can hear what this is going to be. Try to ignore the visual for a second. This is the sound of a car pulling up. And right there comes to a nice stop. So we're going to actually pull this back right about here. And as this gets to the point where the police truck would have stopped, we're just going to kind of blend those sounds together a little bit, see what that sounds like. Oh, well, let's make sure we unmute our police audio. All right, so here we go. It's approaching, it's approaching, it's approaching. Right, and you can hear, there you go, it just comes, all right, so it needs to actually come to a stop a little bit sooner, right, because the truck almost needs to be... Right, the truck needs to be at a stop by the time the SWAT guys are starting to jump out of the back of the truck. All right, so now that that's happened, we need to have a loud metal bashing sound as the back doors open up. So right there, the doors start to open, so the bashing sound would happen right about there. Sure enough, I've got metal door smash open. Let's drag that down here. And I'm going to drag it all the way down below into this kind of open area. That's going to automatically create a new audio track. Hit my plus icon. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And I'm going to place this right about there. Let's see what this sounds like. Oh, okay, so it's too late at that point. Let's just nudge it backward again. I'm holding down Command or Control, using my arrow keys, just nudging it back a little bit. Let's try this again. Okay, that doesn't quite work. Maybe I actually nudged it in the wrong direction. I've been known to do such a thing. I think that sound almost needs to be sped up a little bit. Let's just try nudging it over just a little bit. Try that again. There we go. That's pretty good. I think it actually needs to be louder. Let's right-click on it and choose Audio Gain, and I'm going to choose to adjust the gain by maybe like 10 decibels. It's going to do some damage to the audio track. I don't mind because it's just one quick just burst of sound. Yeah, there we go. Hear how much more forceful that was? The wrong place to put it. There we go again. Okay, cool. That's actually pretty good. Maybe it's 1 frame off. Cool. Try just moving it way ahead. There's something that feels it just feels off about it a little bit. Cool. All right, yeah, I almost feel like the clip needs to be just a little teeny tiny bit faster. But I think that works. Cool. Oh, you know what I think it needs to be? The sped up part of the clip needs to go to about right there, I think. Let's try Let's try adjusting this here. This is the time to adjust. Let's speed it up to the point where the doors are hitting. I'm going to delete that, and what I'm going to do is, well, I'm going to continue this all the way out, and I'm going to make my cut. I'm going to make a new cut right when the doors are bursting. I think that's what's about right. And then I'm going to select this. Of course, I need to right-click and choose Speed Duration, and I need to set it back to 100%. Problem is, 100% is going to stretch the clip out. So I'll just trim it back a little bit, right-click. Let's go Speed Duration, set it back to 100%. Great, and you can see it stretched the clip out. Let's see what this looks like. All right, so now the sound is definitely too late. Just nudge the sound back. This is all just like, there we go, cool. You see that? Sound has to be nudged back just a touch more. Nice, yeah, see that just looks so much better. And they come rushing out. Now, what we also need when they come rushing out, you need the sound of footsteps clattering on the pavement. We're gonna get to these footsteps later. That's a custom sound that I made. I'll explain to you how I made that and what I did. But let's talk about their footsteps when they come out. I have several men running across a wood floor, and I think it actually works for this, which is why I grabbed it. So let's drag it down here. We need to create another new soundtrack. Now I'm noticing that the real sound picks up out around here, so I'm going to trim the sound clip down, and I'm going to drag it back to right about here. Let's see what this sounds like. Boom. And you can hear them, right? You hear all that running. All right, that's great. Remember also, we do have that really nice sound clip attached to that other video clip of the SWAT team running through that little bit of smoke, so don't forget about that as well. So the doors burst open, they come running out. That's great. We can probably still hear, it's probably fine to still hear them running in the background, even when the camera cuts back to him. We're just going to, in addition, add his couple footsteps of him running out of the frame. We're going to do that in just a minute. All right, they come running out. And at this point, this is probably where we would go for that SWAT team soundtrack, just to continue this sound. So let's actually close this bin for a second. Go back to stock video. Let's grab this SWAT team running. I'm going to pull it all the way up here just so I can grab the soundtrack. I can select the video and delete it and just keep the soundtrack. I'm going to drag the soundtrack down to here. Let's see what this sounds like. Maybe I'll trim this right here. It's not quite perfect, but I think if it's quiet enough, it'll blend together fairly nicely. We can add some kind of let's go effects, audio transitions, crossfade, constant power crossfade here to kind of fade things together a little bit. And actually, the way that just fades into that other clip, I think just kind of works. By the time we get out to here, we can probably trim it because presumably he's kind of gotten away from the initial hubbub of all of this stuff that's going on back here. So that's pretty cool. Let me go back and open up my audio folder once more and look at what else we have here. Well, I mean, it pretty much looks like we've gotten everything that we want into here. Maybe one of the things that I would do to add just even a little bit more ambiance to this is I have where is it? Yeah, police radio chatter. Let's go with something like this. This could add some really interesting sound here into the initial happenings. I'm going to cut it right about here. I'm going to delete the initial part because what I have here is somebody talking, and then that's probably the static from them sort of kicking the microphone. You know, you press the button and you get a little bit of static when it first starts talking, and then probably somebody else talking. So let's see what this sounds like. I'm going to drag this all the way back to the very beginning because I want to hear police radio, police sirens, cars driving when it first starts. Let's listen to this. Yep. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and actually it's kind of funny because right here on the radio you can hear they say he just took off, and sure enough, what's going to happen right here? He's going to take off running. In fact, maybe just to make it a little bit more perfect, I'm going to bump that up just a little bit, nudge that over, and just drag this radio out a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. All right, that's going to be neat. All right, I'm going to save that. Now let's talk about the custom sound that I created for his footstep. Now, it's a dress shoe that's coming down on a pavement, which is a hard surface, that has gravel on it. And just about everywhere that he has is going to have gravel. Now, there's a ton of different ways to create your own sound effects. There's a lot of really interesting ways to create your own sound effects. Basically, I go ahead and open up Adobe Audition, which is appearing up here at the bottom of my screen. And I like to record into Adobe Audition, and I recorded this MP3 file. You can really use any sound recorder you want. I don't really want to get into exactly how I did this, but basically for his footsteps, I used a technique that's going to make it sound like a little bit of a softer shoe on a little bit of a softer ground, so it's not perfect. But again, we're having fun doing this. We're just putting this together, and it's all about the techniques, at least for this. It's all about the techniques. Plus, you're not going to really hear his footsteps as crisp and clear as you may expect because we have all of this other sound going on, and we still have to add the music soundtrack as well. So what I did to get his footsteps was I had a big glass jar of rice, and I had a wooden spoon, and I was just sitting here watching the video, and I start recording in Adobe Audition, and then I just plunge the wooden spoon into the rice, you know, like that for every footstep. So I'm watching the video and I'm just stabbing the rice with this spoon every time he takes a step, and you get this like sharp sort of crunchy sound. I mean, here, so I'm going to drag this down. Let's put it in place, and if I shut everything else off, which maybe I'll do just so I can get the footsteps somewhat lined up, you can hear it, right? It's just a simple little sound. And when it's paired with the video, it actually works kind of well. So what I'm going to do is I want my first boom, my first sound effect is going to hit right as his heel is hitting the ground. And I can see here the peak on my sound. So I just need to nudge this forward a little bit. Right there. All right, so my first sound effect, boom, right? You hear that footstep? And then the next bit needs to be moved back just a little bit. I wasn't quite on time. No worries, I can just delete that little bit. I can select the sound here, hold down my Command or Control key, cut it back, all right, and you can see we'll go 1 footstep, 2 footsteps, and then I'm going to do that for every other footstep, even when he's running. So I'm probably going to speed the video up a little bit here and line up all these footsteps. Great. So just it's a little bit of clipping, a little bit of snipping here and there, and just watching, watching where his feet hit the ground, and you can just get like a nice little running action. And like I said, it's far from perfect as far as it really should be more of like a clattering sound of a hard dress shoe clattering against a little bit of gravel on a hard pavement. But we're working with what we've got here. And in fact, when I mix it with all of the rest of the sounds, it just adds enough just little subtle sound that you can hear him running away and hear him moving along, and maybe actually it's just a little bit too loud, so I'll go here, especially right in here, and just reduce the gain a little bit. You can always go in and reduce the volume as well. I've just been on this thing where I've been reducing gain or increasing gain whenever I need to make audio changes. All right, so there he is running away. It gets also a little bit easier to sort of sync the sound with the footsteps when his feet actually aren't in frame, because you can just kind of watch the shoulders, and if generally they look like this or that foot is on the ground, it's going to sound pretty good when he or she, whoever comes running through the frame. All right, so cool. There we go. We got the custom footsteps the custom sounds for the footsteps all lined up as well. Now, the next thing that's going to kind of tie this together is going to be a little bit of soundtrack music. Now, I do have a couple tracks that I downloaded from Pond 5. And by the way, look at how far some of this stuff just extends way off of our video. So, in fact, I'm just going to go ahead and clip both of these right here just to get rid of that stuff. Let's go ahead and add an underlying bed of music. So we're going to go back to the audio. And here in the audio, I have a couple cinematic trailer music. I believe number 1 and number 4 were the two that were about the right length. So I'm just going to pull number 1 down here, create a new audio track for it. And sure enough, look at this. It ends right around that 30-second mark. I'm going to reduce my audio just a little bit so I don't blow out your ears here. But let's just quickly check to see if this kind of meshes with what we're doing. All right, so you can kind of hear that building tension. Yeah, that's kind of cool. But what I also like is kind of out here where it ends. You can see. So right when the sound kind of drops off the table, boom, we can almost just make this go right to black. Let's see what that looks like. I'm going to trim this stuff back, and then this audio would kind of continue out and mesh with the audio of our video, our film, our tutorial, whatever. Let's check this out real quick. Boom. It's actually kind of neat. I really like that track. We could mess around with some of the other tracks. I think I'm just going to roll with this one, though, just to keep it simple, to keep it quick. We just added our underlying bed of music. One of the things you could do is go in and stuff like right here. We can see if we look at the underlying music track, we can see something picks up. We could maybe try to reorient the film a little bit, so maybe right as this smash in the music happens, and maybe actually we should do this anyway, and we can just stretch out the outro a little bit. Right as that smash in the music happens is right kind of when the door smashes. Right? It's kind of cool. So you can take advantage of like natural turns in the music, and when we do something like that, we're just going to stretch this guy back out to right about there. All right, which means let's also just stretch out the ambiance, and we don't really need this anymore. The SWAT team running, we can probably end that way back there. So let's just see here. All right, that can probably be cut off just a split second sooner. Something like that. Trim that back. I like to push my tracks back one at a time for some reason. All right, let's check it out. Yeah, that's great. All right, let's save that. And that's pretty cool. And the music isn't going to start for a quick second there at the beginning, but I think it actually kind of works because you sort of get the split drama of the sirens and the radio and the cars moving around, and then the music kicks in. Right? It's kind of a neat effect. All right, let's go ahead and save that. And let's talk about, we're finally here talking about color grading. So we're going to export this project, the XML from this project, move it over to DaVinci Resolve, and we're going to talk about color grading. I'm going to close this bin here. So color grading is fun, and an application like DaVinci Resolve makes it super fun. DaVinci Resolve, I'm going to bring up here Chrome, and you can check this out. DaVinci Resolve, you can download this. For the most part, it's free over at blackmagicdesign.com/product/DaVinci Resolve. You can check it all out. It's really it's amazingly powerful software that Blackmagic provides to you. DaVinci Resolve 12.5 is what I'm using at the time of this recording. Hopefully, they will have updated it, and there's even newer, bigger, badder, better stuff. But for now, we're using DaVinci Resolve 12.5. You can go with the studio version, which is more amazing stuff for about $1,000, and then the super cool Space Age Advanced Panel for a cool $29,995, which will provide you with award-winning control and all kinds of other stuff that's just not possible with a standard mouse and keyboard. It looks really amazing. You know, I don't have the 30 grand to drop on it, but hey, to each his own. You can go ahead and download this for Mac or Windows for free. See that? Free. And it's such a powerful application. I've used Adobe's SpeedGrade. I prefer DaVinci Resolve. It's such an amazing little tool. It's just so good when you need to go in and do a little color grading. It's incredible. All right, so what we need to do is we need to get this from here over to DaVinci Resolve. How do we do that? Well, this all goes back here just for a quick second. I want to harp back to what we talked on way back at the beginning of this tutorial when we talked about file organization. We're going to save our XML here into this folder, and it's going to allow us to access it very, very easily in DaVinci Resolve and not worry about broken links to files and things like that. You can see there's my .proj, my Premiere project file. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go up to the File menu, choose Export, and choose Final Cut Pro XML. Now what's going to happen is it's going to say, hey, I got to simplify this, yada, yada, yada. We're going to say, hey, you know what, go desktop, let's go short film, and let's just save this right here. So we're going to, it's primary-ungraded.xml. Boom, we're saving it right in our short film project, and it's going to do all this stuff, and it might give you a little thing that says, hey, this other file was created, whatever. Don't worry about that stuff. Now we're going to go and jump over to DaVinci Resolve. Now when you first open DaVinci Resolve, you get your project manager, and you can see here I've got no other projects going on. I usually work on projects and then delete them when they're done, but you know, do what you want to do. We're going to choose new project, and I'm just going to name this project intro. Maybe I'll call it intro. No, you know, I'm just going to call it intro. What the heck? Go ahead and hit create. All right, there we go. There's our project. Double click on it, and it's going to open up our just initial media browser, media manager area in DaVinci Resolve. Let me move this up onto screen, actually. I'm just realizing that's off screen. The media manager section, you can see we got a few different modules here. So the first thing we want to do before we do anything else is go File, Import, note here, XML. We're not doing AAF, we're not doing EDL, XML. All right, so here we're going to navigate to our folder on the desktop, short film, and we're going to choose primary-ungraded.xml. Go ahead and hit open, and it's going to say, hey, look, load the XML, all this different stuff. It's going to, you know, just tick on automatically set project settings. Great. Bring in all of the source clips, all that stuff. Set our timeline resolution, 1920 by 1080. That's what we're working with. We're not doing Ultra HD. We're not doing 4K, 2.5K, any of that stuff. Go ahead and hit OK. And you'll see everything is brought right here. And now we're in the editing module. Well, we already did the bulk of our editing over in Premiere Pro. We're more interested in the color tools of DaVinci Resolve. So go ahead and hit the color module. And over here in the color module, we have a lot of amazing things we can do. Now, it may look super complicated, and it is a little complex, but we're going to kind of break it down and keep it simple. I'm not going to talk about nodes and node-based editing. I'm just going to show you how to perform some simple color grading edits and help match the color a little bit. Because you can see here, this is obviously at night. The SWAT team shots are at night. We were shooting a little bit later in the morning by the time we got to when we were shooting. So we want to kind of try to match things at least a little bit. We're never going to make it perfect, but we don't really, for this, it doesn't really matter. It's a very, very short film video intro for something on YouTube. And this drone shot over Philly, that's especially going to be troublesome. And also note, by the way, remember the shot in Philly, we scaled it down to 50%, and sure enough, it's scaled down to 50% here in DaVinci Resolve. And maybe we can go back to the edit area and correct that. I don't know. I don't want to get too deeply involved here in DaVinci Resolve. What I do know is we can scale it back up when we bring it back to Premiere, or really what we should have done was set it to 100%, exported the XML, and then brought it over here. But I'm not a professional when it comes to DaVinci Resolve stuff, so maybe somebody out there is ready to punch a hole through their computer and say, no, idiot, it's this way. Leave a comment below if you know a great way to just quickly scale this back up when we're doing our color grading. But I'm not going to worry too much about it. Again, I'm going to scale it back up when I bring this back into Premiere Pro. All right, so let's begin with our first clip. One of the things we've got here is a curve, and actually if you hit this little icon here, you can get a nice scope, which is going to give you kind of some of your colors. You can see the reds, greens, and blues, and kind of overall brightness. We can choose to set it to whatever we want. With the waveform, you get your sort of mixture of red, greens, and blues, and then just your general just brightness values as well. If you don't know how to read a histogram, probably fairly complicated. I'm not going to get into how all that works right here, right now. But what I do want you to know is when we do our color grading, we're going to be working primarily in the log setting, mainly because we can change the brightness and color values in our shadows, midtones, highlights, and then offset, which is a little bit more of like a global overall, make it darker, make it brighter. And in this case, we want to make this clip a bit brighter. And actually, I like to use the tone curve as well. We're going to brighten this up. Maybe we're going to pull the shadows just straight up a little bit and pull the highlights just straight down a little bit, kill off a little bit of contrast, make it a little bit more cinematic. Mostly, I just want to desperately brighten this shot, and I also want to make these shots a little bit more blue. We're going to make these shots a little bit more blue and these shots a little bit less blue and try to pull the colors together a little bit. So here in the shadows, I'm going to try to infuse a little bit of blue. I'm just going to pull my center dot toward blue a little bit. And remember, this is not like the greatest, most high-quality deep video. It's just like H.264, so it's it's almost like the JPEG of video a little bit. So we can't do a huge amount with it. Maybe highlight though. I'll push a little bit of warmth. No, you know what? I'm going to push cool into the highlights. And with offset, I'm also going to push cooling overall as well. All right, and if I like this and I decide, you know what, this is what I want to apply to my other shots, what I can do, and there's not quite enough contrast. I'm going to drop the shadows back down, put that back to where it was. There we go, something like that. That might be the best we can do. Right-click and just choose Grab Still. When we grab the still, it's almost like saving a preset, because what we can do now is go over to this SWAT team shot. We can right-click on our still and choose Apply Grade. Boom, it changes that. We can go ahead, right-click, Apply Grade. Great, you can see that. We just quickly go ahead and we get that little sort of colorful thing saying, hey, you've done some colory stuff to this little video clip. Right here, too, we can right-click, Apply Grade. Great. Maybe this shot as well. Here we should try to apply the grade. I don't know. I think we're gonna have to do something a little bit different for this shot just because of the way it's set up. We'll take care of that one by itself. And I don't think we've got any other sort of dark shots. All right, so we got all of our dark shots taken care of. Let's take a look at our drone shot here. And with this one, I definitely want to make it darker. So I'm going to pull down on just the white point, and I'm going to pull up a little bit. I want to brighten the shadows just a smidge. And then I want to come up here and just pull down on the brighter parts of the image, make them a little bit darker. All right, and then maybe with the offset for this overall, I'm just going to turn it down a little bit. And then most importantly, I want to add orange to the highlights, almost to try to simulate a little bit of like a sunrise. It was the morning, but probably even more important than that is just really infusing some serious blues into the shadows and into the midtones just to try desperately to give this drone shot a little bit of the cool-ish tone that the rest of our image is going, or the rest of our video is going to have. So we're just trying to cool this guy down a little bit. We can probably also just drop saturation overall by just dragging the saturation slider. If I hover over the word sat and just drag, left a little bit, we can drop the saturation a little bit. I don't want to mess around with the hue at all. That's probably all I'm going to do for this. And now let's go ahead and talk about editing the true blue shots. So the first thing I want to do here is boost the shadows a little bit and knock down the highlights a little bit. Again, we're just killing off a little contrast. I'm going to maybe make it a little bit darker because we can, if we pull these shots a little bit darker, maybe that'll pull them just a touch more in line with these, right? Just a little bit. Again, we're trying desperately here to just darken things, they make this feel a little bit more like it's maybe an hour before we actually shot it. And then here with the midtones, I'm going to infuse a little bit of yellow into the midtones. And adding a little bit of yellow to the midtones is going to, it's going to sort of make the shot look a little bit more natural. With the shadows, we will just add a drip of blue to the shadows. And for the highlights, we will add some yellow to the highlights. And the offset, and by the way, with these little sort of wheels at the bottom, you just drag right or left with them. Maybe I'll make this just a little bit darker. All right, something like that. It looks pretty cool. With the highlight, I think I'll add a little bit more yellow. And mainly I'm doing that because I know when I get to these shots out here where there's actually bright areas, I think it's going to help us a lot as far as that's concerned. Let's go back to this real quick. I'm going to reduce the highlight light level as well. So I'm just going to drag that back. All right, let's right click and grab this still as well because we can come out here to this video. We can apply this color grade. Look at how much that changes that. It's crazy, isn't it? Let's go ahead here. There he is on his feet. Right click, apply grade. Cool. That looks good. All right, let's go to this clip here. Right click, apply grade. Cool. You can see we're just kind of darkening that down. Now this shot is naturally a little bit darker, but let's still do right click and apply the grade. Let's kind of see what this looks like. I feel like that's just going to be a little bit too dark, and we'll correct that by just kind of pulling up on the curve a little bit. Now, what I do want to be careful of is that when I pull up, I'm going to be brightening things up and adding a substantially greater amount of that orangey highlight. So I'm going to pull back on the yellows and the highlights there as well. And anytime, by the way, if you completely bungle one of these up, you can hit the little just like reset arrow, and it'll bring your little circular thing back to the center of the target. All right, so that's great. Oh yeah, remember we have to, we got to color grade this little clip as well. We do have the police lights overlaid in there, but we can also mess around with the police lights. I'm more interested in just messing with the clip underlying. I kind of like the color of the police lights, to be honest with you. All right, let's go to this shot. Right click, apply grade. Cool. Right click, apply grade. Great. Watch how much it'll change a shot like this. Right click, apply grade. And look at that. I mean, it just takes it. The shot looks 10 times better. It's incredible. All right, let's do it with this shot here. Right click, apply grade. Cool. And it's just really pulling all these shots right together. Right click, apply grade. Great. And then last but not least, this shot here, right click and apply grade. All right, so for this shot underneath here, it's coming up as photo JPEG. It's kind of interesting. I don't know if I messed something up or what's going on there. But for the sake of what we're doing, let's just go ahead. We're going to boost the shadows, reduce the highlights, as we've been doing. Maybe pull down just a little bit, give the shot a little bit more contrast. And then I'm going to add some orangey to the highlights and some bluey to the shadows, maybe just a touch of blue to the midtones. Again, just try to pull it together a little bit, but in its own peculiar way. And then for this shot here, the police lights, I'm not going to do anything with them. All right, so once you have all of your color grading finished, and we just blew through this very, very quickly. I hope I kind of made it clear enough for you. If you've never used DaVinci Resolve before, try to ignore like this over here if you're not sure what nodes are. This has to do with creating nodes and working on nodes and things like that. We didn't even get into that. We didn't get into any of these other buttons and icons. Just try to ignore that stuff. We're working just in log, messing around a little bit with the curve, keeping our eye on the waveform, selecting the clip we're working with, all that good stuff. All right, once you've done that, it's time to go to the deliver module. Now, we're not actually going to export our video straight up. We are instead, if you look up here, going to deliver Premiere XML files. Now, if you're working in Final Cut Pro 10 or Final Cut Pro 7, there are specific XML files for them as well. And you've got all kinds of other stuff. You've got your AVID, you've got just, Pro Tools and audio, YouTube at 720p, Vimeo at 720, and if you hit the drop down, you can see you can go all the way up to 2160, that's 4K, if I recall correctly. So you've got a lot of options, and then of course just custom. But what we're going to roll with is the Premiere XML, and it's going to kind of set everything for us. The only thing I might change is go with Apple ProRes 422 HQ. It's just really high quality and it's really nice. But take it with a grain of salt because we've got a bunch of H.264 video files in here. But hey, still it's Apple ProRes 422. So we're going to roll with that. And once you do that, well, I'm going to select all my clips. So select my first clip, select my last clip. I just held down my Shift key and just selected that last clip. Add render to queue, and it's going to say, hey, where would you like to save your file? Where would you like the final destination of the file to be? I'm going to go to my short film folder, hit OK, and there it is. The job one is over there. You can see it's 19 total clips, and then I can just go ahead and start the render. Now, it's going to render out of DaVinci really, really quickly. I mean, it's probably going to do it in a minute or less. You can see 45 seconds or so remaining. I'll just speed this up to get us through it even faster, and we'll be back in Premiere and bring this thing in no time. All right, now it is exported, as you can see. Let's go back over to Premiere Pro, and we're going to bring this into here. Now, this could go, we could create a new folder called like graded, all right? So we'll just go graded, and we're going to import this stuff into here. So we can just, in this bin, right-click and choose import, and you will see that we have this primary ungraded.xml. We don't want that. We want this other exported one, primary ungraded dot blah 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 .xml, and then all the video clips. All right, but here's what I want, and this is kind of important. This, I want to go back over to my file manager here, and I want to go to my graded assets folder. You can see it is now empty. I want to bring all of my graded clips and my XML file, this XML file, and all these MOVs, right, all of them, and this XML file, drag them into graded assets. All right. So now what we'll do, I can minimize that once more. Right click, choose import. And from here, I'm going to go to, well, of course, graded assets, and I'm going to choose that XML file. And when I do this, it's going to say, hey, look, this Final Cut Pro translation results report is added, whatever, that's fine. When I do this, all this stuff gets dragged back into here. I'm going to go to my just list view, and let's check out here. We have a sequence. So I'm going to just double click on the sequence to open it up, and we've got a bunch of sound stuff. Now, I don't really care about the sound because what I can do with my sound, if anything in my sound area is messed up, I can just select all of my graded video clips. I can copy them and paste them back onto my original sequence because they're all going to line up perfectly, right? They were exported from Resolve. Everything should be great. But I think that everything is okay. In fact, we can just probably quickly just hit this, watch through it, and see what happens. I'm not hearing any audio at all. We might not have exported the audio. Oh, remember, we got to mess around with this clip. All right, let's just do this the way that I originally thought we'd have to do it. Let's just select all of our video clips, right-click, copy. Go over here to this. I'm going to select all of my original video clips. I'm going to delete them, and selecting all the way, just make sure I have my playhead at absolute 0. There we go. So we just paste it right into place. I didn't have, you got to make sure you select that actual sequence. I had the bin selected over there. So we can just paste that right into place, and we can just go through and play this. Oh, you know what? I think I have my sound on mute. That is probably why the sound wasn't working, right? Dumb mistakes happen. All right, so then you can watch through, and all of our clips are going to be nicely graded. Oh, let's go ahead and we're going to increase this drone shot by 200% because it got scaled down to 50%, right? There we go. Drone shot is what it is. And we'll know if the quality got cut when we actually export it. That may be the one sort of chink in our armor here. But you know what? We're having too much fun. And look at this. So cool when you get this done, get it back into Premiere, and you see you got all your color grading going on. Again, the color grading does not match up perfectly, but again, it's all about, oh, no, look, here's something else happened. Notice here, I'm actually going to shut off video layer 2, right? I just hit the eyeball. This video track, and it's PAL video, it got the height got scaled down. See that scale height is 91.4, and sure enough, there's some black bars. Let's go ahead and just set that back to 100. There we go. That's back to the way it should be. I'll turn on my police lights once more. Cool. I think the police lights are a little bit overbearing as well. Oh, well, there we go. Our blending mode was set back to 100%. Maybe that's part of the reason why. Let's go ahead and check that out. Cool. So you can see that. Here he comes running around here. Boom. Throws the laptop down. Opens it up. Would have been great to have one more cut in there. Now, actually, speaking of one more cut, once you've gone and done your color grading, if you're going to make cuts and then try to take it back to DaVinci, things get relatively complicated. And I'm being a little generous there. It's kind of a pain in the neck to sort of, take your footage out again, continue editing in DaVinci, and then bring it back. It's best to get everything cut, get it the way you want it to be, and then go color grade it. Oh, this shot as well, our top secret Photoshop. We didn't do any color grading to this, though, so what I think we'll do is we'll just grab our original graphic, drag it back in, right, trim it down on the back end, and I don't remember what we set it to, something like 47% on the scaling, I think. Oh, yeah, and then we set our Y to 420, if I recall correctly. There we go, great. And we'll go back to Effects, Collapse Audio Transitions, we'll grab a Cross Dissolve, and we'll do remember that quick cutting Cross Dissolve. Let's zoom in here, just to cross dissolve across just a few frames. I'm going to back it out a little bit. Boom. And then it just drops off the face of the earth. All right, great. So once you've kind of checked it out, you've watched over the video. It's always good to just watch over your video at least once. Make sure you don't miss anything. I probably still have missed something. I'm going to decide where I want the sound to end. All right, boom. And then I'll probably end it right about there. All right, so you know what, actually, I'm going to end it at 36 seconds exactly. All right, so it's 36 seconds, and then I'll just drag this right back, clip it to there. Once I have this in place, I'm going to hit the letter O. O is going to set my out point. Now, one of the things I want to do is select all of my sort of tracks. So V1 and 2 have video on them, but I also want to select audio 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and those are all the audio tracks. All right, and then I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning of my little film here and hit the I, the letter I. That's going to set my in point. So I sets the in point, O sets the out point. This is going to be important because when we go and export this video, we're going to tell Premiere, look, export the stuff in primary ungraded, which I guess we could change the name to primary graded now, but primary ungraded, export the stuff between the in point and the out point. So let's go ahead and do that. File, Export Media. Note the hotkey Command or Control M. It's very helpful. Once we do this, we can choose a format that we're saving to. We're just going to go straight standard H.264, and we have a bunch of different presets. Now, down here, all the way at the bottom, of course, off screen, we have YouTube 1080p HD. It's a preset. It's got a pretty high bit rate. 16 is a little high. I mean, I kind of feel like it's a little overkill, if I'm being honest. I'd set the max to about 9. You'll get great results with 9. We'll set target to about 9, and then we set max to about 9 as well. It's going to cut down your file size quite a bit, and depending on how big and long your videos are, that can be helpful. Also, doing a 2-pass bitrate encoding can be helpful, and I've even heard of people setting their level, I believe it is to 5.0 to get even more quality. I think when you go above 5.0, there's some other issues. We're going to just roll with 4.2 though, because 4.2 is what I primarily use, and I'm not going to, I'll talk about the stuff that I know about. And that's pretty much what I do here. So size is just the 1920 by 1080, so we get our 1080p HD. It's a little, it's still kind of something that everybody's using, but we're rapidly moving to that 2.5 and 4K stuff. In terms of audio, I'm leaving everything at the default, AAC, 4800 hertz, stereo, that's fine. Everything is good there, and I don't really mess around with any of the other stuff here. The only other thing to do is select your output name, and we can save this wherever we want. I'll save it right into my short film folder, and I'll call this short film finished. Right? Finally. Oh, feels so good. Although it'd be nice if I spelled film correctly. There we go. Save. All right. Now, once I've done that, the other important thing is down here, the default is probably entire sequence. If you've never exported anything, I want my source range to be sequence in out. This is basically just telling Premiere, look, export between those in and out points that we just set in our project. I find that to be very helpful because sometimes there's additional stuff in your project that you want to stay there but you don't want to export. So just export my sequence between the in and out points that I've set. Once you do that, go ahead and hit the export button, and it'll take a little bit, sometimes a few seconds, sometimes a few minutes. It's going to export, and you will have a little short film in no time flat. So there we have it. The clip has exported. I can go and find it. While I'm finding it, that pretty much is going to bring us to the end right there. Short film finished. That pretty much is going to bring us to the end of this video tutorial series. It's been 3 parts on how to shoot your own short film, and it's obviously turned into more of like a YouTube video intro kind of thing. But a lot of the concepts are the same. Just the bigger your film, the more people you get involved, actors, actresses, lighting, gear, locations, production. It just bloats and gets huge and big and big and big. But at least if you can start with the small stuff, before you know it, you'll be able to handle that bigger stuff and be able to handle it like a champ. Now, of course, I'm no George Lucas or anything like that, but, you know, it's just I'm trying to share with you some of the concepts, and I hope you really enjoyed it. Thank you for Pond5 sharing all the free footage with us. Make sure, again, you check out that link down in the description. Download those free clips. You can use them for whatever you want, and I picked them all out. I tried to pick some nice clips for you guys to use, and thank you for watching this video. Thank you for checking it out. Without further ado, check out the finished clip.
At 10:20, the nearest disturbance